everybody. Welcome to Moms on a Mission. Today's show is sponsored by our good friends at MyPillow. MyPillow makes the best pillows, slippers, sheets, and so much more. And I just got to say, the slippers are my favorite.
They're amazing. And they're literally $35. And they're just like a famous boot brand that makes furry boots, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And I bought some from them a while back and they were $99.
Yeah, don't waste your money.
No.
Buy the MyPillow. And we had a chance to meet Mike Lindell.
He's so funny.
Just like he is on the commercials.
Yes, exactly.
He's so authentic, so nice. So you're buying from a patriot. So just go ahead, go to mypillow.com, put in code MISSION for up to 66% off. That's mypillow.com, code MISSION. And we would love to hear from you. So check us out on our website at momsonamission.net. That's momsonamission.net. And please follow us on your favorite platform.
We have the honor of talking today with a strong and courageous wife and mom who got pulled into a national legal battle with her husband while he was standing up for our First Amendment right, the freedom of speech. You probably heard about the case that escalated all the way up to the Supreme Court. Please welcome to Moms on a Mission, Denise Kennedy.
Hello, Denise.
Hi there.
Hello. What a pleasure to be here.
Well, we're so glad to meet you. It was such a joy and a privilege and honor to talk with your husband, Coach Kennedy. I really related to him as a football coach. I've been a football mom for, I don't know how many years, many years now. My boys are graduate. I have great memories of great football coaches. And he is one of those. So we'd like to see the woman behind the man.
That's right.
Or the man, did I get that? I always get those things wrong. I always say those things wrong.
I know. Well, I think that was right.
I have Miriam here to help me out. But anyway, well, tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are and what you do.
So I am now in Florida, enjoying working at a flower shop and kind of living the dream. But prior to that, just 3 years ago, was an HR director for the Bremerton School District. And we have a blended family, 4 kids together. So there's Joe's son, Jacob, and then my 3 kids, Emily, Zach, and Ethan, but we're one unit and have been. We just celebrated our 18-year anniversary. So
happy anniversary.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's 18 years. That's
worth celebrating. It is.
Yes.
It is.
We know your story from your husband, Coach Kennedy's perspective. You saw your husband pray after every game for years. What was your initial reaction when they told him to stop?
You know, it was puzzling to me because he had been doing it for 8 years. And it began as, and I think he probably shared with you guys kind of what got him solidified his journey as a coach. And that was through Facing the Giants, the movie. And he just committed to God. It was his covenant to God to take a knee on the 50-yard line and give him thanks for the battle that they just endured. And, all the glory to you, Lord, win or lose. And so for a number of years, it was him by himself. And you see some of his other players would come out. And what led to that was the players eventually said, "Hey, coach, what are you out there doing?" One of the kids said, "Are you taking grass samples or, what's going on?" And so he said, "Well, I'm just thanking God for what you guys just did." And they asked, "Well, can we do that?" He's like, "Yeah, it's a free country. Of course you can."
Well, and you thought it was at that time.
Yeah. Silly. So over time, and I saw on Facebook memories are really cool because I could see, my pictures. And for me, I was so proud of him for doing that. And I just gave me goosebumps from that beginning picture of him by himself on the 50. And, the Lord has done a mighty, mighty work in that man. And I was just so proud of him. And so the journey along Facebook, you could see a couple of players and then more players and then almost the entire team. And then eventually both sides of the teams came together, coaches, came together, and it was so powerful. And I just remember thinking, Lord, you are so incredible to bring this community. And mind you, Bremerton School District is an area, it's the highest poverty area in our county. A lot of challenges that those students face that maybe otherwise, you know, in a different location or demographic may not experience. And so for Joe, for Coach, he met their needs in much more than X's and O's. And I'm sure he's shared that with you, that he knows very little and really cares very little about the X's and O's. It's about the young men that he got to lead and bring to learn how to be fine young men. And
I didn't realize the district was impoverished.
I didn't either.
And I think that makes the story even more astounding and appealing to me.
It really does.
It was a ministry. I mean, he alluded to that, but it obviously was just a full-on ministry.
It was. And, you know, the number of students that we helped just, you know, they didn't have cleats or, you know, money for dinner on the way home from a game, just little things. And it was just, you know, nobody needs to know about this. Just here you go. And you know, he was a friend, confidant, and a parent, mentor, all the things. And I just so much pride for him and for the example that he set for not only our own children, but the children in our high school, in our school district. And so initially when the word came down, so sorry about my cat, that there was going to be an investigation. So I was the HR director. Typically that would be, I would lead the investigation. And so, of course, I was removed from that. And my boss then took over that. But it was really confusing. We were trying to figure out, so where is this coming from? And it actually came from a compliment from another administrator at an opposing team. And so,
and who did they compliment your husband's behavior to?
To the principal of our high school.
And the principal didn't know this was going on for 8 years?
They did. I mean, they saw it. And
acknowledging it.
I mean, the community
was
coaches,
accepting it.
The AD, the other, I mean, yeah, it was never a problem because, and being in HR, I knew we couldn't encourage or discourage. Well, he wasn't. He was asked what he's doing. He told them and gave them hey, this is your right to choose whether you come out or not. Some came, some didn't. He was never, and even to this day, after we've been battling this for 9 football seasons now, he's like, honey, I cannot think of a single time that I ever made anyone feel or even said to a player, well, really, you should, you should be out, take a knee. You really need to be there, kind of thing. And it just never was. And if he did it, he's going to fess up to it. I mean, he's pretty.
We could tell that about his personality
right away.
Yeah. I think it's that military mindset, either did it or you didn't.
Well, he has a humbleness to him. He's yeah.
So it was
fascinating to me that it went on that long, and then somebody's complimenting the principal, and then the principal, it sounds like this principal started taking action after the compliment.
Right. So I think my perception is that he was, well, okay, so what is there something more that I need to know about? And so, and you pick that game as a kid, the telephone game, and one person says it, and then it gets spread. And so instead of being handled, and when I did investigations, I was very, I had a checklist. You do this, this, and this. I'm kind of a black and white person when it comes to that, because there's policies and procedures for a reason. But there was a lot of wishy-washy, messy going on there. And there was no direct, hey, coach, can we have a conversation? Here's here's the concern that was brought up. That didn't happen until the floodgates had been opened. And even then, so there was a lot of closed-mindedness. So it was bizarre. And it was like, is this really happening? Like this letter that I just got saying, I can't even take a knee. It came down to the third strike, you're out kind of thing. And, for a Marine who has grown up fighting all of his life.
For freedom, not just to fight, but for freedom.
Absolutely. And like he has said, the Constitution means something to me. I fought for our freedom. And he still to this day gets very emotional about that. And so it was mind-boggling, really. And I served as superintendent on his cabinet, so we met every Tuesday with all the other administrators, and it was a very awkward several years after that.
You stayed employed there through like maybe half of the litigation, it sounds like maybe?
I did. I was, so the case started in 2016 and I stayed through 2021.
Okay.
So Denise, you said did you stay in your HR position or did they move you? I know not for that particular case probably, but did you stay in that role?
I did.
Okay. They did keep your job.
And it was very interesting to navigate that.
And then you chose to leave on your own?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you were saying, watching your husband take a stand, you're so proud of him. And we are too, hearing the story. I mean, what a patriot. Not only did he serve our country, we know a little bit of his background. It wasn't an easy growing up situation. He comes in and he's mentoring. And now you've lost your job, basically. Your job position changed. You've chosen to step away. So we see how it's affected you personally. But how did it affect your family when he was taking a stand? I know you were probably proud and standing behind him, but how did it affect you in other ways and your children too?
Yeah. So, initially like I said, it was really odd for us to like, is this really happening kind of thing? And because I was close to the superintendent, we attended the same church, and we would have conversations, and it would feel like, okay, this is going to be okay. We're going to work through this. But as soon as the attorneys got involved, then it was, we were literally told, you cannot have a conversation with the school district. Cannot. We don't want you to talk to them, which was sad because it could have been resolved a whole lot sooner. And but God had another plan.
That's what I wanted to interject and say. I've been like, but I think this is such a great example for any American or anybody actually, is that, we just have our immediate, perspective of exactly what's happening just close up, but God sees the whole plan. And when he says in Romans 8:28, that he will work all things out for our good for those who love God and are called according to his purpose. He's not kidding. He really will. And I think about that in this situation. You're just thinking, oh my gosh, here we are caught up in this awful long legal battle. But look what God had, in store for you all and for the nation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes.
Well, what do you think? And I know that we say it just so easily. We say like, oh, this was hard for Denise, but obviously, Coach Kennedy, your husband is a fighter. He's been like that. It's in his DNA, right? But as a woman, I'm guessing that, you're probably not, bent quite like that. And so I'm just wondering, was there a time, Denise, that there might've been like a breaking point for you where you're like, okay, enough is enough. Let's just quit this, peace out. I'm done. I'm all done. I'm exhausted and I just can't do it anymore. Did you get to a point like that in the suit?
I absolutely did. And I would say there were different times throughout this journey, but the most, I think, significant for us and our marriage was, Joe and I have known each other since we were 9, and we grew up down the road from each other. And so I know how much he was a fighter from the beginning and how God had his hand on him. But he also loves to be the center of attention. He's outgoing. And so I really began to, and not to give him credit, but the enemy is a jerk and knows how to, work some things. So
yes, he's a liar.
Steal, kill, and destroy.
John 10:10. Yeah, he's a liar.
Absolutely. And so I was resenting the situation because I had started in the school district as a receptionist part-time, and my goal was to go back to school. I wanted to be a leader in human resources. And for 15 years, that was what I did. And so this was now being, my world was being rocked, not only at home, but at the workplace, where I frankly spent more time than I did at home. And so my relationships, the stress of, it was like being on an island by myself in my little office. Employees were told not to discuss anything with me. Don't talk to her about, my husband, whom all of my friends and family at the district knows my husband. I mean, it's like a family. So I started to feel resentment and question Joe's intention. What was driving this? And because I knew that if someone was that he would never back down. Right. So, but I wanted to make sure the intentions were the right intentions, and I wasn't feeling that.
That's totally fair, I would think, as a wife, just to clarify.
Yeah. And so it got to a point where we both, I was hurting and in tears, and he would try, I'd say, why are you doing this? Just tell me why. And he would try and explain, and he's just like, no, I'm supposed to do this. God is calling me to do this. And so there was, a time where I feel like I was caught up in this yuck. But it wasn't until we both were weeping, literally, and he walked away as I'm, crying in our bedroom. And he's like, I don't want to hurt you anymore. I don't want to do this. And he went to, I didn't know where he was going. He didn't know where he was going. And at that moment, as he was leaving our bedroom, he had a video or a ping on his phone. And he's thinking, okay, who is messaging me right now? We're in this intense fellowship. And it's the Kendrick brothers from Facing the Giants. It is a video.
Oh, I have goosebumps. Wow.
Of Alex Baldwin standing on the 50-yard line on this, where they filmed the movie. And it's just him, and he's talking to Coach, and he's talking to me. And he just said, Coach, I need you to know that you were called to do this. And there are people all over the world that are praying for you. Stand strong. And he sees this, and I didn't know he was seeing this. I hear this thunk, thunk, thunk down the stairs. I thought, okay, he just had a heart attack or something. I went running out, and I'm like, do I need to call 911? He's like, he couldn't talk, but he's showing me his phone. I'm like, what are you talking about? So, and he's just, I could tell at this point, he's just rocked. His world is rocked. I sit down, and I'm on the stair above him, and he pushes play. He is sobbing. Don't tell him I told you that.
It's our secret. Just you and
he's a coach.
Yeah.
And we watch it then, and it was like the Holy Spirit just fell upon us at that moment, and my eyes were open. I think he just had a new understanding of where I was coming from and maybe where my doubt and concern was coming from. But at that moment, it was like, okay, I get it. I get it. Thank you, Lord. I needed that. And we just knew no matter what, we had to press on. And frankly, that moment, that God moment, saved our marriage at that point.
Well, I love your story of redemption and marriage. And it just, when you're talking, it makes me think of some of the Old Testament struggles and the fact that you spent 9 years and we'll get into that a little bit more, but that the struggles that God takes us through, and that, God doesn't promise it's going to be easy. And he doesn't promise that marriage is going to be easy. And I mean, just thinking about some of the leaders in the Old Testament, like Moses, who, God was telling him to do these things, but they were not immediately gratified. It wasn't like, you're going to leave the promised land. You're not going to leave Egypt and there's the promised land. It was like, you got to walk this day by day. And I thought, what would it be like to be married to some of these men? You're watching them and God's taking you through these hard times like you just went through, and standing by your husband and continuing to pray. It's such a testament to all of us, because we don't know when God's going to call us to a big struggle with our husbands or ourselves. And to have that person standing by your side makes a huge difference. And because if you hadn't been there with him, God probably would have taken him God would have taken him to the right place, but you played such an instrumental role in that. So,
and I love how, just like Julie was saying, the redemptive nature of that, but also how God shows up like right on time.
Yes.
Like, what are the chances of that happening? Clearly that was the Holy Spirit.
It was,
jumping in with you in your problem, in the situation, in the turmoil, in the stress and the pain, and providing a way out, a way of escape. The Holy Spirit's our helper, and he helped you in that moment. And how neat, like, I don't know your personal spiritual situation, but I think what a testimony and what a massive showing of God's presence and his love for us, that when we need him, he's going to be there for us. I'm sure Coach Kennedy was just floored. I'm sure that completely inspired you both to push harder and stronger and to keep, fighting the good fight.
Well, and it makes sense that you would have so much pushback and spiritual warfare, because probably little did you know that this case was going to go all the way to the Supreme Court. It didn't just affect you and Joe and your family or just the people in Washington state. It was going to affect the entire country. But the spiritual warfare did, the things that we can't see did know. And so that kind of leads to the next question, is that how does it feel knowing that your case was that powerful and used to set a precedent for the future rulings?
Yeah, that it is wild. Yeah, it is humbling is, it doesn't even like cover it. And I just have it's incredible. And I think about the two little kids, Joe and I, when we were met at 9. And I don't know if he shared with you, but that's when he proposed to me, was when we were 9.
No, he didn't share that.
He definitely left out that huge detail.
We love those kind of stories.
So I said, "You're creepy. I'll see you."
Creepy.
But, and God took us through this journey together and brought us together and all those things. But God uses people that you just would never dream of. And to think that him and I had the privilege of walking through this and seeing and standing up for those folks that didn't feel that they could, or didn't have, a way to stand up. And to think that there is a book about our life, that there's a movie being made, it's really inconceivable. And I don't know if we'll ever get it, the full impact.
So based on that, Denise, what would you tell moms, grandparents, or even dads for that matter, who, they're at a point where, do I take a stand, or do I just go with the flow because it's going to be easier? Because, your story is amazing. I mean, it turned out perfectly, and maybe someone else's story will turn out well also, but maybe it won't. But what would you say to moms who maybe are afraid of being targeted, or they're afraid their kids will be targeted if they take a stand?
It's hard, and it's not, like you said, that it is not an easy road. But I would say it is worth every ounce of everything that us as mamas have, to push through for our kids and our children's children and their children. And it was ugly. It was messy. We have lost friendships, and our family, even parts of our family, doesn't understand. But what I see like the seeds that have been planted in our own children, and then seeing, our children pour into my grandbabies, and the kids that we brought into our life, those football players, for example, that, the original group of boys that he began his coaching career with are married and having their own children. But the impact that coach had on those guys, one of his players said, he was like a junior in high school, and said, "Coach, when I have kids someday, my firstborn is going to be named Kennedy."
Oh, and that's so sweet.
She is. Her name is Kennedy.
Oh, I love
my
that.
gosh.
And, this was 5 years later. And one of his other players just two years ago called and asked coach to officiate his wedding. And he was marrying one of the cheerleaders that, it's just so cool.
Oh, God
so
just
cool.
shows you, just giving you the fruit.
Yeah. And I think that I love what you say for advice for those moms and dads and grandparents, that you really do. You see the fruit. And I always feel like it's safer to be smack dab in the middle of God's will.
Absolutely.
Than in your comfortable place outside of God's will, because it might be comfortable now, but man, if you're not doing what he's called you and made you to do, even when it gets uncomfortable, it's so not fulfilling or rewarding, So I love that encouragement.
Yeah. I mean, if you're not doing something hard or challenging, you're probably not in God's will. I'm not saying everything has to be like what you've just experienced, going to the Supreme Court and dealing with all that. But for all of us, you probably need to do a self-check every once in a while. Am I doing something hard, or am I living kind of like on a cruise ship right now? Because if I am, probably need to be praying more and listening more. And I mean, coach is such a great testament to that. And he didn't back down, and look at the fruit just over and over for generations. He's affecting his own generation, the next and the next. And he will, the coaches like him. I mean, there are some out there, but it's less and less, people who are really willing to invest in kids' lives. There are some, but not a lot like Coach Kennedy.
Yeah.
So he is unique. That's for sure.
I wanted to ask quickly. So have things settled down? I mean, do you all feel comfortable? I know the game is supposed to be September 1st. So do you all feel comfortable with the way it is, or is it still going to take some time for everything to settle down?
So, it's, I wish I could say that I feel, comfortable, and my heart is kind of hurting right now. As Joe is flying to Washington, his first coaching meeting is this Wednesday, and so he had a travel an engagement to do tomorrow. So he's on his way to New York, and then he'll go to Washington. So this is spring ball. They do the 2-a-days, and but this is his first introduction back into the program. And these are all new coaches, all new students. A lot of these students, were in elementary school when this stuff began, and I don't know what this is all about. And the last thing that coach wants is to be a spectacle upon return, because that's what it's about. And I am reminded just recently by a gentleman that is a pastor that was on the Israel trip with us, that there's more people than you know that are standing and praying for you in this. Right. And of course, what we see is there's a lot of harshness and ugliness that comes across social media. And, I have a hard time not taking things personally, because when you're talking about my family, my heckles go up.
The mama bear comes out.
There's
that's why that scripture is so powerful and helpful. It says we don't battle against flesh and blood, but against principalities. And let's be honest, this is a spiritual battle. This isn't about kneeling on the 50-yard line, silently, whatever. It is a spiritual battle. And I think that's so helpful when you see those disparaging comments and you hear these things, knowing, that you really do have the support of a nation behind you, I believe, but also knowing that this is a spiritual warfare. This is spiritual warfare, and we're not going to fight it out in the flesh.
No. And you count on us praying. We'll be asking our audience to pray for Coach Kennedy. And I'm so proud of him that he's going back. He's finishing the job, and who knows what God has in store for him. Because it's needed. It's definitely needed. And so I have one other quick question before we wrap up. So can you give us an update on the book and the movie? I'm really interested in that.
Julie, I just have to rat her out. She did ask Coach Kennedy if she could walk the red carpet for the movie.
If there was a premiere, I've never been to a movie premiere.
Well, neither have I. So she goes, I go. So,
that's the kind of movie I'd want to go to a premiere, because I know the people would be so wonderful. I wouldn't.
Yeah, so it's the book. They pushed up the release date to October 1st.
Oh, great!
Nice.
I think it's June 5th. We get to meet the producer and director of the movie, like in person, and there's still negotiating who is going to play Coach Kennedy. We hear that Mel Gibson is writing his own scene, and he wants to be one of the Supreme Court justices. So
that'd be a good role for him.
Yes,
good. Yeah. So there's just a lot of, it's so hard to wrap my brain around. It's
sure.
I don't know, somebody else.
Yeah, just my life.
Yeah.
Well, it's well deserved, and I hope you enjoy every minute of it. I think it's going to be a great read, and I really can't wait for the movie. Not only because I would love to walk the red carpet with you and Coach Joe, but also just because I know it's going to be great, wholesome entertainment. It's so hard to find movies that you can take your family to that has a good message. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah.
So Denise, thank you so much for being on our show today. We really appreciate you taking the time to be with us. And we would love to hear from you. Let's get connected. Just go to our website at momsonamission.net. That's momsonamission.net. Also, please reach out to us with your questions and comments at moms@momsonamission.net. That's moms@momsonamission.net. And please follow us on your favorite platform. Moms on a Mission is excited to partner with our friends at MyPillow. According to sleep experts and sleephealth.org, over 50 million Americans struggle to get a good night's rest. That's where MyPillow comes in. They make the best pillows, sheets, mattresses, and mattress toppers. Several years ago, I was having trouble falling and staying asleep due to neck and shoulder pain. Luckily, I heard an ad about MyPillow and decided to give it a try. After 3 or 4 days, I really began to feel a difference. I was sleeping better and my neck and shoulders felt so much better. MyPillow really does help you fall asleep faster and stay asleep longer. Moms on a Mission wants you to get a great night's rest too. Go to mypillow.com right now and use the promo code MISSION for up to 66% off your purchase. MyPillow products are made in America and have a 60-day money-back guarantee and lifetime warranty. Remember, go to mypillow.com, put in the special code MISSION for your special Moms on a Mission discount. Thank you and God bless.
Hey guys, it's Moms on a Mission here. Are you worried about your financial stability and protecting the money for which you work so hard? The problem is stock market volatility and inflation. You may be wondering what you can do to preserve your family's wealth. We at Moms on a Mission encourage you to reach out to our friend Andrew Sorcini with Beverly Hills Precious Metals. Andrew is the expert in educating you to help you find the right balance of gold and silver for your family portfolio. He made it so easy for me to add precious metals to my financial investments. I simply mailed a check to Beverly Hills Precious Metals and my silver showed up on my doorstep a few days later. It was so easy. Go to bh-pm.com to save a little money and tell them that Moms on a Mission sent you. That's bh-pm.com. Don't wait. Protect your wealth today by going to bh-pm.com and tell them that Moms on a Mission sent you. Hi everybody, it's Moms on a Mission here. Recent research from the CDC says that millions of Americans develop parasitic infections and symptoms often go unnoticed or are misdiagnosed.
Parasites are the cause of many health problems, such as anxiety, depression, chronic pain, fatigue, and unexplained digestive issues. We all need a common sense strategy to improve our health.
We at Moms on a Mission encourage you to reach out to our good friend, Dr. Jason Dean. Dr. Dean's Full Moon Protocol provides all-natural detoxification and fights inflammation. These supplements are made with 100% organic ingredients and are proven to kill parasites safely and effectively.
To order your Full Moon Protocol, go to bravetv.store/mission to save $20 off your first order. That's bravetv.store/mission. Order Full Moon Protocol and start killing those foreign invaders that have been keeping you sick. That's bravetv.store/mission to receive $20 off your first order.